But you won't be able to surrender unless you're completely fed up with suffering. You've had enough suffering. And at some level, you recognize that most of your suffering is self-created. It is created out of resistance to what is. It is created out of an interpretation of something that is. It comes from a thought, from an interpretation, not from the situation.
From this wider perspective, so much of what we do to each other must have the rest of creation shaking their heads. The fact is that someone born in the United States is not more special than someone born in Mexico. Someone born in London is not more special than someone born in Liverpool. Someone who is white is not more special than someone who is black. They're just vehicles for the consciousness to experience. You go down to the seashore and you pick up a droplet of water in your hand. How can anyone say that that droplet is any more or less special than all the other billions and trillions of droplets you see in the ocean before you?
The biggest problem on the planet today is fear. It's been a problem for a long time, but it's a huge problem now. It's getting bigger every day, and the reason that fear is a problem, of course, is that it affects everything. Everything we think and say and do, all the decisions and choices we make, all of our reactions, all of our responses, everything that we're experiencing can come from only one of two places. Conversations with God has made that very clear to me. We're either coming from love or we're coming from fear. And my observation is that most people, most of the time, and myself, more than I would like to acknowledge, are coming from fear. So we have to look at our fears and find out, what is fear anyway? What is it all about? What are we afraid of? And what impact is it having on the choices and decisions and the creations for which we've made ourselves responsible? By the way, that's one of the first fears that there is, the fear of being responsible, the fear of placing ourselves in a position of responsibility for all that we are creating. So fear is the first aspect.
So when I began to understand this and appreciate this other explanation to God-man's religion and this religious
transform fear.
I started to ask a few questions about this situation.
What it is that we're
like, how
afraid
come
of.
that this explanation, at the very bottom line least, is as credible as the other two? How come the other two get guaranteed airtime, often no questions asked, here's your airtime,
fear ultimately is a fear of death. And if you're not afraid of death, you're not afraid to death.
Is really
How can you not be afraid to die?
by reflex action.
Well, you cannot be afraid to die if you understand what death is.
The answer
As a result of that understanding,
that I came up with
you understand what life
clearly,
is. The
some
wonderful
people
book Home with God,
don't want
the
the
life that
public
never ends,
to have access
is
to
in
this
extraordinary
information.
detail. Talks about the
But
moment of
who
our death,
and
the
what
process of death itself,
and
the
why?
reason that we're experiencing life. And as we
And I
are
began
so
to ask other
You
questions.
realize really
I
that
would suggest that
I don't know about
I've
you,
had enough suffering.
but I've met a lot of people in my life, and I can't,
And
to
only
my knowledge, recall
truly had
anyone
enough suffering in your
who
life.
wanted a war,
level
Are you
of
able to
dying.
say,
And when that fear
who had
goes
any
away,
interest in
then
war,
fear of life.
who
Suffering
felt
is a
that
wonderful
wars were
teacher.
anything but horrific and to be
Suffering
avoided.
because most people's
So I thought,
spirit fears
how come
and suffering
Fear is real.
deepens you.
I know what fear is
Gradually
defined. The
erodes
definition of fear is
the
thought
mind-made
that we are
sense
not
of
good
self.
enough to have something we feel we need.
And
Then I kind of looked at this
A person who doesn't need
For
anything has no fear of
some
anything.
people,
I don't need
the
anything
point
from you.
arrives where they
An economic
realize
system
I
that
don't
is
even need my
so
own life.
I have
safe
suffered enough.
I don't think
That,
that I
for
need this
example, is the
particular
that
case
the more
with
successful it is
almost
in
all
its
the
own
people who
terms,
come to
the quicker it
retreat.
destroys
I'm not
the planet.
afraid even if you kill me. Then I really don't need you for
If you
anything.
ask
I just
them,
need you to stop
perfect
killing me.
They've
environmental
all had
and
their
human
share
That
of
is
necessity.
true
human suffering.
fearlessness, and most
It
spiritual
insists
masters
every
reside
Otherwise
year
they
in a
wouldn't
that we
place
take
of
more
utter
from the earth even quicker, turn it into even more
fearlessness.
things, sell even more
They've
things,
had
and
their
sell
share
even more
of
things, throw
human
away even more
suffering,
things,
and
my
they have
own
reached a
fears.
point where they are ready to listen
And when I have an idea
to the message that says there is another way to live.